Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst, or perhaps more accurately, drifting headfirst into the surprisingly relatable world of ancient Egyptian grumbles. That's right. We're going to uncover what got on the nerves of people living thousands of years ago along the Nile. You might think their worries were all about giant scorpions or displeasing a pharaoh, and sure, those were probably on the list, but tonight we're focusing on the everyday, the mundane, the ugh, this again moments. Honestly, if you were suddenly transported back with your modern sensibilities, you might find yourself complaining about surviving the first hour, let alone the first day. The sheer dust alone would be a shock. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the article and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. This helps me a great deal and allows me to continue unearthing these boring yet fascinating fragments of history for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first grumble about dust. The first thing you notice, even before your eyes fully open, is the quality of the silence. It's not the dead quiet of a soundproof room, but a living silence, punctuated by distant, unidentifiable rustles. Then a rooster, bless its punctual heart, decides it's time to announce the pre-dawn, and your eyelids flutter. You're lying on a reed mat, spread over a packed earth floor. It's firm. Not ergonomically supportive firm, just unyieldingly hard. Your back makes a small protesting crackle as you shift. A thin linen sheet covers you, already feeling a bit clammy from the night's residual warmth. The air itself is thick, carrying the scent of dry earth, a hint of wood smoke from a neighbor's early fire, and something vaguely animalistic, probably the donkey tethered just outside the single-room dwelling. Slowly, you sit up, your feet touching the cool, slightly gritty floor. Dust, it's everywhere. A fine, pervasive powder that seems to settle on everything the moment you're not actively wiping it away. You can already feel it on your skin and your nostrils. You try to rub the sleep from your eyes, but it feels more like rubbing fine sand into them. That's your first unspoken complaint of the day. Oh, the dust again. It's a constant companion in this land, a souvenir from the desert that the mighty Nile, for all its life-giving properties, can't quite wash away from daily existence. Your gaze falls upon your pillow. It's a crescent-shaped headrest, probably made of wood, or if you were a bit fancier, perhaps alabaster or faience. The idea, as far as historians can tell, was to elevate the head, perhaps for coolness or to protect elaborate hairstyles, though yours is decidedly unelaborate at this hour. You can't help but think a pile of slightly less scratchy linen would have been a vast improvement. Did anyone ever wake up from one of these things feeling truly refreshed? Or do they, like you, just feel a crick in their neck and a longing for something, anything softer? It's one of those things where you imagine some ancient artisan proudly presenting it, and the buyer thinking, well, it looks important. The practical comfort, some historians argue, might have been secondary to its symbolic or perceived health benefits, though the exact rationale for its widespread use is still a topic of gentle debate among Egyptologists. A fly buzzes lazily past your ear, its tiny drone an irritating prelude to the day's inevitable insect encounters. You swat at it half-heartedly. There's no glass in the small, high window opening, just a wooden shutter you propped open last night for a sliver of breeze. said Breeze also invited in a few six-legged roommates. You stand stretching. Your dwelling is simple. Mud brick walls that are surprisingly effective at keeping the worst of the midday heat out. But right now, in the cool of the morning, they feel a bit damp. The kitchen is a corner with a few clay pots and a grinding stone. The thought of grinding grain for the morning's bread already makes your shoulders ache. It's a physically demanding task, one that defined the start of the day for many, especially women. This daily bread, often a flatbread called ishbaladi or something similar in ancient times, was the absolute staple, alongside beer. If the grain was bad or the grinding stone chipped or you just didn't have the energy, well, that was a prime source of daily frustration, a complaint whispered into the dusty air. Looking out the doorway, the sky is beginning to lighten in the east, a soft pearly glow heralding the arrival of Ra. The village around you is slowly stirring. The muffled bray of a donkey, the clatter of a dropped pot, a child's sleepy cry. These are the sounds of life, ancient yet timeless. You know the day will bring heat, hard work, and 1,000 tiny potential irritations. Perhaps the water jars are almost empty, meaning a trek to the canal or river. Maybe the neighbor's goat has once again nibbled on your carefully tended vegetable patch. These small, persistent annoyances, archaeologists find evidence of them even in discarded pottery shards bearing frustrated scribbles, or in legal texts detailing petty disputes. It seems complaining about the little things is a deeply human trait, transcending millennia. And as you stand there on the cusp of another Egyptian day, you can't help but feel a sense of solidarity with those who stood in similar doorways, sighing at the same eternal dust. 自述求米八的等待之令继续 the Nile's backbreaking labor. That fine dust, you realize, isn't just an indoor problem. As you step out properly, the entire landscape seems coated in it, a pale film over everything. Your gaze drifts towards the distant, monumental silhouettes that pierce the horizon, the colossal projects that define this civilization, the pyramids or perhaps a sprawling temple complex depending on which era you've landed in. And with that sight comes the thought of the sheer, unadulterated toil involved. You might not be directly hauling stones today, but the air itself hums with the effort of thousands. Imagine you're one of the legion of workers, not a slave as popular imagination often wrongly depicts for projects like the Giza pyramids. Many historians now agree that a significant portion of the workforce consisted of conscripted farmers during the Nile's inundation period when fields were flooded, or skilled artisans and laborers who were compensated, albeit often in bread, beer, and other provisions. You'd be part of a vast organized system, divided into gangs with names like Drunkards of Menkaure or Friends of Khufu, which sounds almost jovial until the actual work begins. The first complaint of the day on site, after the dust, would undoubtedly be about the overseer. There's always one, isn't there? Perhaps he's a bit too enthusiastic with his reed staff. Not for beating necessarily, but for emphatic pointing and gesticulating, kicking up yet more dust. Or maybe his voice is just a little too grating before the sun has even fully crested the eastern cliffs.
Faster with those ropes.
Or are you polishing that stone or trying to wear it away with boredom? The grumbles would be sotto voce, of course, a shared sigh with the person straining beside you. Then there's the work itself. moving massive blocks of limestone or granite, even with ramps, levers, and an incredible amount of human ingenuity, is brutal. Your muscles would scream in protest. The ropes, woven from papyrus or palm fibers, would dig into your hands even if you'd wrapped them in scraps of linen. Splinters from wooden rollers or sludges were a constant, irritating hazard. And the sun, oh Ra, the sun. It climbs relentlessly, baking the desert sand and the stone until the heat radiates upwards, making the air shimmer. You'd dream of shade, of a cool drink, of anything but another heave. The official rations of bread and beer, while generally sufficient to sustain life, sometimes became a point of contention. There are actual records like the papyri from Deir el-Medina, the village of the artisans who built the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings, detailing worker strikes because their rations were delayed or of poor quality. Imagine the scene. A group of highly skilled tomb decorators downing tools not for more gold, but because the beer was late or the fish delivery hadn't arrived. "We are hungry," they declared. It's such a fundamentally human complaint, and the tools, copper chisels and dolerite pounders, were the height of technology for stone shaping. But copper blunts easily. You'd spend a frustrating amount of time waiting for the tool sharpening team, or trying to make do with a less than perfect edge. The frustration of a task made harder by inadequate equipment is a timeless lament. Perhaps a wooden lever snaps at a crucial moment, or a sledge gets bogged down in sand that wasn't properly wetted to reduce friction. The collective groan would be palpable. The exact methods used to quarry, transport, and lift some of the largest stones, especially in the earlier periods, are still a subject of considerable discussion and experimentation among engineers and archaeologists. They marvel at the Egyptians' achievements with the tools available, but the workers themselves probably just cursed the stubbornness of the stone. Sometimes, amidst the drudgery, a small, quirky act of defiance or humor would emerge. Workers often left graffiti on the hidden surfaces of stones, their gang names, a quick sketch, maybe even a crude caricature of an unpopular overseer. It was a way of saying, "I was here. I toiled on this." Some of these marks are even quite boastful, but you can imagine others were less complimentary. It's a tiny whisper of individual personality amidst the anonymous colossal effort. Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst, or perhaps more accurately, drifting headfirst into the surprisingly relatable world of ancient Egyptian grumbles. That's right, we're going to uncover what got on the nerves of people living thousands of years ago along the Nile. You might think their worries were all about giant scorpions or displeasing a pharaoh, and sure, those were probably on the list, but tonight we're focusing on the everyday, the mundane, the "ugh, this again" moments. Honestly, if you were suddenly transported back with your modern sensibilities, you might find yourself complaining about surviving the first hour, let alone the first day. The sheer dust alone would be a shock. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the article and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. This helps me a great deal and allows me to continue unearthing these boring yet fascinating fragments of history for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first grumble about dust. The first thing you notice, even before your eyes fully open, is the quality of the silence. It's not the dead quiet of a soundproof room, but a living silence. punctuated by distant, unidentifiable rustles. Then a rooster, bless its punctual heart, decides it's time to announce the pre-dawn. And your eyelids flutter. You're lying on a reed mat spread over a packed earth floor. It's firm, not ergonomically supportive firm, just unyieldingly hard. Your back makes a small, protesting crackle as you shift. A thin linen sheet covers you, already feeling a bit clammy from the night's residual warmth. The air itself is thick, carrying the scent of dry earth. A hint of wood smoke from a neighbor's early fire, and something vaguely animalistic, probably the donkey tethered just outside the single-room dwelling. Slowly, you sit up, your feet touching the cool, slightly gritty floor. Dust, it's everywhere. A fine, pervasive powder that seems to settle on everything the moment you're not actively wiping it away. You can already feel it on your skin, in your nostrils. You try to rub the sleep from your eyes, but it feels more like rubbing fine sand into them. That's your first unspoken complaint of the day. Oh, the dust again. It's a constant companion in this land. A souvenir from the desert that the mighty Nile, for all its life-giving properties, can't quite wash away from daily existence. Your gaze falls upon your pillow. It's a crescent-shaped headrest, probably made of wood, or if you were a bit fancier, perhaps alabaster or faience. The idea, as far as historians can tell, was to elevate the head, perhaps for coolness, or to protect elaborate hairstyles, though yours is decidedly unelaborate at this hour. You can't help but think a pile of slightly less scratchy linen would have been a vast improvement. Did anyone ever wake up from one of these things feeling truly refreshed? Or did they, like you, just feel a crick in their neck and a longing for something, anything softer? It's one of those things where you imagine some ancient artisan proudly presenting it, and the buyer thinking, well, it looks important. The practical comfort, some historians argue, might have been secondary to its symbolic or perceived health benefits, though the exact rationale for its widespread use is still a topic of gentle debate among Egyptologists. A fly buzzes lazily past your ear, its tiny drone an irritating prelude to the day's inevitable insect encounters. You swat at it half-heartedly. There's no glass in the small high window opening, just a wooden shutter you propped open last night for a sliver of breeze. Said breeze also invited in a few six-legged roommates. You stand stretching. Your dwelling is simple mud brick walls that are surprisingly effective at keeping the worst of the midday heat out. But right now, in the cool of the morning, they feel a bit damp. The kitchen is a corner with a few clay pots and a grinding stone. The thought of grinding grain for the morning's bread already makes your shoulders ache. It's a physically demanding task, one that defined the start of the day for many, especially women. This daily bread, often a flatbread called aish baladi or something similar in ancient times, was the absolute staple, alongside beer. If the grain was bad or the grinding stone chipped or you just didn't have the energy, well, that was a prime source of daily frustration. A complaint whispered into the dusty air. Looking out the doorway, the sky is beginning to lighten in the east, a soft pearly glow heralding the arrival of Ra. The village around you is slowly stirring. The muffled bray of a donkey, the clatter of a dropped pot, a child's sleepy cry. These are the sounds of life, ancient yet timeless. You know the day will bring heat, hard work, and 1,000 tiny potential irritations. Perhaps the water jars are almost empty. meaning a trek to the canal or river. Maybe the neighbor's goat has, once again, nibbled on your carefully tended vegetable patch. These small, persistent annoyances, archaeologists find evidence of them even in discarded pottery shards bearing frustrated scribbles, or in legal texts detailing petty disputes. It seems complaining about the little things is a deeply human trait, transcending millennia, and as you stand there on the cusp of another Egyptian day, you can't help but feel a sense of solidarity with those who stood in similar doorways, sighing at the same eternal dust. 自述长期born barber. 等待指令继续. The Nile's back-breaking labor. That fine dust, you realize isn't just an indoor problem. As you step out properly, the entire landscape seems coated in it. A pale film over everything. Your gaze drifts towards the distant monumental silhouettes that pierce the horizon. The colossal projects that define this civilization. The pyramids, or perhaps a sprawling temple complex, depending on which era you've landed in. And with that sight comes the thought of the sheer, unadulterated toil involved. You might not be directly hauling stones today, but the air itself hums with the effort of thousands. Imagine you're one of the legion of workers, not a slave as popular imagination often wrongly depicts for projects like the Giza pyramids. Many historians now agree that a significant portion of the workforce consisted of conscripted farmers during the Nile's inundation period when fields were flooded, or skilled artisans and laborers who were compensated, albeit often in bread, beer, and other provisions. You'd be part of a vast organized system, divided into gangs with names like Drunkards of Menkar or Friends of Khufu, which sounds almost jovial until the actual work begins. The first complaint of the day on site, after the dust, would undoubtedly be about the overseer. There's always one, isn't there? Perhaps he's a bit too enthusiastic with his reed staff, not for beating necessarily, but for emphatic pointing and gesticulating, kicking up yet more dust. Or maybe his voice is just a little too grating before the sun has even fully crested the eastern cliffs. Faster with those ropes! Or are you polishing that stone or trying to wear it away with boredom? The grumbles would be sotto voce, of course, a shared sigh with the person straining beside you. Then there's the work itself. Moving massive blocks of limestone or granite, even with ramps, levers, and an incredible amount of human ingenuity, is brutal. Your muscles would scream in protest. The ropes woven from papyrus or palm fibers would dig into your hands even if you'd wrapped them in scraps of linen. Splinters from wooden rollers or sledges were a constant, irritating hazard. And the sun, oh Ra, the sun, it climbs relentlessly, baking the desert sand and the stone until the heat radiates upwards, making the air shimmer. You'd dream of shade, of a cool drink, of anything but another heave. The official rations of bread and beer, while generally sufficient to sustain life, sometimes became a point of contention. There are actual records, like the papyri from Deir el-Medina, the village of the artisans who built the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings, detailing worker strikes because their rations were delayed or of poor quality. Imagine the scene. A group of highly skilled tomb decorators downing tools not for more gold, but because the beer was late or the fish delivery hadn't arrived. "We are hungry," they declared. It's such a fundamentally human complaint, and the tools. Copper chisels and dolerite pounders were the height of technology for stone shaping. but copper blunts easily. You'd spend a frustrating amount of time waiting for the tool sharpening team, or trying to make do with a less than perfect edge. The frustration of a task made harder by inadequate equipment is a timeless lament. Perhaps a wooden lever snaps at a crucial moment, or a sledge gets bogged down in sand that wasn't properly wetted to reduce friction. The collective groan would be palpable. The exact methods used to quarry, transport, and lift some of the largest stones, especially in the earlier periods, are still a subject of considerable discussion and experimentation among engineers and archaeologists. They marvel at the Egyptians' achievements with the tools available, but the workers themselves probably just cursed the stubbornness of the stone. Sometimes, amidst the drudgery, a small quirky act of defiance or humor would emerge. Workers often left graffiti on the hidden surfaces of stones. Their gang names, a quick sketch, maybe even a crude caricature of an unpopular overseer. It was a way of saying, "I was here. I toiled on this." Some of these marks are even quite boastful, but you can imagine others were less complimentary. It's a tiny whisper of individual personality amidst the anonymous colossal effort. Bread and beer disputes. Your daily life in ancient Egypt, regardless of your social standing, revolved around two fundamental staples: bread and beer. These weren't just food and drink. They were currency, sustenance, and a cornerstone of the economy. So when something went wrong with your daily ration or the quality of what you could procure, you can bet complaints would follow, and they weren't always quiet. Imagine you're at the local distribution point, perhaps a temple granary or a state-run bakery, waiting for your allotment. You've worked, you've fulfilled your obligations, and now you expect your due. The queue shuffles forward slowly, the sun beating down. Finally, it's your turn. The overseer measures out your grain or hands you a stack of coarse, flat loaves. But today something's off. The grain looks shriveled, perhaps with more chaff than usual. Or the bread feels lighter, more air than substance, and has a slightly sour smell. This isn't right, you might venture, holding up a suspect loaf. This is yesterday's baking, and not even a good yesterday's. The overseer, likely harried and dealing with 100 similar interactions, might shrug. It's what we have. Take it or leave it. But leaving it isn't really an option when this is meant to feed your family. The complaint here is immediate and visceral. You're not just arguing about quality. You're arguing about survival, about fairness. This isn't a matter of finding a better brand at the supermarket. This is the core of your sustenance. The beer, often a thick, nutritious, and low-alcohol brew, was just as vital. It was safer to drink than potentially contaminated water from some canals, and was a key part of daily caloric intake. If the beer delivery was late, or the brew was watery, or worse, had gone completely sour, it was a serious issue. As mentioned before, the workers at Deir el-Medina famously went on strike over delayed rations, which included their beer. Their complaints, recorded on papyrus, are quite direct. "We are hungry and we are thirsty." There's no mistaking the urgency. Historians find these records fascinating because they show ordinary people asserting their rights and holding authorities accountable, at least to a degree. Consider the process of making bread and beer itself, often done domestically or in small communal bakeries and breweries. If you were making it yourself, The complaints might be directed at the heavens or your own aching arms from grinding the emmer wheat or barley. "This accursed grinding stone needs roughening again," you'd mutter, as your flour remained stubbornly coarse. Or perhaps the yeast, wild and unpredictable, failed to make the dough rise properly, resulting in a dense, unappetizing brick. The disappointment of wasted effort and ingredients would be a sharp personal complaint. If you were buying from a local baker or brewer, and the quality was consistently poor, what recourse did you have? There wasn't a Better Business Bureau. You could complain directly, perhaps loudly, hoping public shaming might have an effect. Old Merritt's beer tastes like ditch water today, and her bread could break a tooth. These sorts of public grievances, while perhaps not formally recorded, would have been part of the fabric of village life. Reputation mattered. The ingredients themselves could be a source of dispute. If a farmer sold grain to a baker that was full of weevils or sand, a common adulterant, accidental or otherwise, you can imagine the heated exchange. "Are you trying to poison my customers or just make my bread heavier to charge more?" Some legal texts do touch upon fair trade practices, and it's likely that disputes over the quality of essential commodities sometimes ended up before local councils or officials. The exact mechanisms for consumer protection are still debated by scholars, but the need for it was clearly present. Even the storage of bread and beer presented challenges. In a hot climate without refrigeration, things spoiled quickly. You might carefully store your loaves in a clay jar, sealed against pests, only to find a family of mice has somehow breached your defenses. Or your beer, stored in a large pottery vessel, starts to ferment too quickly in an unexpected heat wave, turning sharp and undrinkable. The sigh of frustration as you pour out what should have been a refreshing drink is a complaint understood across the ages. The social aspect of sharing bread and beer was also important. Offering someone bad bread or beer was an insult. Imagine preparing for a small feast or offering for the gods only to find your key ingredients are subpar. The embarrassment and annoyance would be acute, so, while the grand monuments speak of pharaohs and gods, the humble complaints about a bad batch of bread or a delayed beer ration speak of the everyday realities and the enduring human need for basic sustenance and fairness. These weren't just dietary preferences. They were fundamental to life, and their lack or poor quality was a legitimate and often loudly voiced grievance. Neighborhood squabbles. Life in an ancient Egyptian village or town, much like anywhere else in any time period, was lived in close quarters. Your mud brick house likely shared a wall with a neighbor, or at least stood only a few feet away across a narrow, dusty lane. While this proximity could foster community, it was also a perfect breeding ground for petty annoyances, misunderstandings, and outright squabbles. The complaints here weren't about grand injustices, but the daily grit of human interaction. Imagine you're trying to get some sleep after a long day of, say, fending off bureaucratic papyrus wielders, but your neighbor Nacht has decided that 3 a.m. is the perfect time to loudly and enthusiastically repair a broken pot. The rhythmic thwack, thwack, thwack of his mallet against clay echoing through the thin walls. Your first complaint is a muffled groan into your wooden headrest. If it continues, it might escalate to a hissed knocked by the beard of Osiris. Some of us are trying to sleep. Through the wall, or consider the issue of shared resources. Water from a communal well or canal access point was vital. If your neighbor consistently took more than their fair share, or let their children splash about and muddy the water just as you were about to fill your jars, tempers could flare. That woman Hanutsinen, she acts as if the Nile flows only for her household, you might mutter to another long-suffering neighbor. These weren't official complaints filed with a scribe, but they fueled the undercurrent of village gossip and resentment. Animals were a frequent source of contention. Your neighbor's goat, the one with the perpetually mischievous glint in its eye, has a particular fondness for your painstakingly cultivated patch of lentils. You've shooed it away countless times you've spoken to your neighbor, but the goat remains a four-legged menace. If I find that cursed goat near my lentils one more time, you might seethe, it's going to end up in a stew. Actual legal documents from ancient Egypt do record disputes over damage caused by livestock, so this wasn't just an idle threat. It was a recognized problem that sometimes required formal adjudication if neighborly persuasion failed. Children, adorable as they might be, could also be instigators of minor conflicts. A game of tag that results in a knocked-over water jug, an errant ball made of bundled rags landing in someone's cooking pot, or simply the high-pitched shrieks of children playing too close to someone trying to have a nap. These were all potential flashpoints. "Can't you keep your little terrors under control, Merritt?" One mother might snap at another, leading to a defensive retort and a simmering feud that could last for days. Then there was gossip itself. In a small community, everyone knew everyone else's business, or at least thought they did. A misheard comment, a speculative rumor, or a deliberate piece of slander could cause real distress and lead to public confrontations. "Who told you I watered down my beer?" That's a lie spread by jealous tongues, a brewer might exclaim in the marketplace, trying to salvage his reputation. The desire to protect one's good name was strong, and accusations, even trivial ones, were taken seriously. Historians debate the extent to which gossip can be archaeologically traced, but the human tendency for it is undeniable, and its potential for causing complaint is universal. Boundaries were another classic point of friction. Did that pile of bricks your neighbor was storing encroach slightly onto your pathway? Was the lean-to he built casting too much shadow over your small herb garden? These seemingly minor issues could escalate if not addressed. There are records of property disputes, sometimes involving elaborate measurements and witness testimonies, suggesting that defining and defending one's personal space was important. Even smells could cause complaints. If your neighbor was particularly enthusiastic about drying fish in the sun, and the aroma, to put it politely, wafted constantly into your dwelling, you might feel compelled to say something. "Respectfully, Amose, but your fish are making my house uninhabitable." The response could range from apologetic to indignant. These everyday frictions, the constant negotiation of shared space and resources, formed a rich tapestry of minor complaints. Most were likely resolved through direct conversation, mutual grumbling, or the intervention of respected community elders, but they paint a vivid picture of life beyond the pharaohs and tombs. A life filled with the same small irritations and interpersonal dramas that characterize close-knit communities everywhere. The complaints weren't always about monumental wrongs. Sometimes they were just about wanting Knack to fix his pots at a more sociable hour. Pesky pests and ailments life along the Nile, for all its bounty, came with a host of unwelcome companions, insects, vermin, and a variety of ailments that could make daily existence a misery. Your complaints in this sphere wouldn't be directed at a person, but at the relentless forces of nature and the fragility of your own body. You'd swat, you'd scratch, and you'd certainly grumble. The flies. Oh, the flies. They are a constant, buzzing, irritating presence, especially during the hotter months and around any source of food or moisture. You'd wave your hands vaguely in front of your face all day long, a gesture so common it was practically a form of involuntary communication. By Horace's good eye, will these flies never cease? You'd exclaim, as one lands determinedly on your lip just as you're about to take a sip of water. They'd crawl on your food, pester your sleeping children, and generally make moments of peace hard to come by. Fly whisks, made of animal hair or plant fibers, were common household items, but they offered only temporary respite. Then come the mosquitoes, particularly active in the evenings and near any standing water left by the inundation or irrigation canals. Their high-pitched whine would be the soundtrack to many a sleepless night, followed by itchy welts in the morning. You'd try sleeping under a finer linen cloth, or burning certain pungent herbs to keep them at bay. But their persistence was legendary. Malaria was undoubtedly a prevalent issue, though the ancient Egyptians wouldn't have understood its transmission mechanism. They would only know the fevers, chills, and debilitating weakness that followed too many mosquito bites. The complaint here is one of weary resignation. Another night, another battle with the biters, scorpions and snakes, while perhaps not a daily encounter for everyone, were a genuine threat, especially in more rural areas or if your house had a few too many cracks in the mud brick. Finding a scorpion in your sandal before putting it on or seeing a snake slither across your path would certainly elicit a yelp, if not a full-blown terrified complaint to anyone within earshot. Magical spells and amulets for protection against such creatures were incredibly popular, indicating the level of anxiety they caused. Medical papyri contain remedies for bites and stings, but prevention, or at least a healthy dose of caution, was key. The efficacy of some ancient snakebite treatments is something medical historians still find quite intriguing, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of venom and local flora. Lice and fleas were another intimate torment. In crowded living conditions and with less frequent full-body bathing than modern standards might dictate, though Egyptians were generally keen on cleanliness for the time, these tiny parasites found ample opportunity. The itching would be maddening. You'd spend hours grooming yourself and your children, using fine-toothed combs made of wood or bone, meticulously picking out the offenders. The complaint is a frustrated scratch, a sigh of "not again." Beyond these visible pests, there were the invisible threats, the various diseases and infections. Eye ailments were incredibly common, exacerbated by dust, flies, and smoke. Trachoma, a bacterial infection leading to blindness, was rampant. You'd see people with reddened, weeping eyes, and you'd pray to Sekhmet, the goddess of healing and pestilence, ironically, to spare your sight. Dental problems were also widespread, largely due to grit from stone-ground flour wearing down teeth, leading to abscesses and intense pain. Imagine a toothache with no access to modern dentistry, only rudimentary extractions or poultices. The groans of someone suffering from such an ailment would be a familiar sound. Digestive issues from contaminated food or water were also frequent. Dysentery and parasitic infections were likely common causes of discomfort, weakness, and even death, especially for the very young or old. The complaint would be a doubled-over stomach, a feeling of wretchedness, and perhaps a desperate plea to a local healer or a household deity for relief. While some ancient Egyptian medical treatments were surprisingly advanced for their time, understanding of germ theory was non-existent. Cause and effect for many illnesses remained a mystery, often attributed to malevolent spirits or the displeasure of the gods, which in itself could be a source of anxious complaint. What have I done to deserve this affliction? The line between medical complaint and spiritual lament was often blurred. So as you navigated your day, you weren't just dealing with human society. You were in a constant low-level skirmish with the less pleasant aspects of the natural world. Each swat, each scratch, each prayer for health was a small complaint against the persistent discomforts that were simply a part of being alive in ancient Egypt. Bad bargains and shoddy goods. The marketplace in ancient Egypt was a vibrant, noisy, and essential part of life. Whether it was a bustling urban souk or a smaller village gathering, this was where you'd acquire goods you couldn't produce yourself. From pottery and tools to textiles and exotic trinkets brought by traders. But just like any market, then or now there was always the potential for a bad bargain, a shoddy product, or outright deception. Your complaints here would be born of frustration and the feeling of being cheated. Imagine you've saved up a small amount of copper deben, a unit of weight used for currency, as coinage wasn't common for much of Egyptian history. Or perhaps you have a surplus of grain to barter. You're in need of a new cooking pot. You find a merchant with a seemingly sturdy selection. He extols the virtues of a particular pot, fired in the hottest kiln. Will last your lifetime and your children's. You haggle, agree on a price, perhaps 3 measures of barley and a small bundle of dried fish, and take your new pot home. That evening, as you're simmering a lentil stew, you hear a dreaded crack. A hairline fracture appears and your dinner slowly seeps onto the hearth. The complaint is a furious, "That swindling son of a desert jackal." You'd feel foolish, angry, and inconvenienced. What could you do? You might march back to the market the next day, broken pot in hand, and demand satisfaction. "Look at this. You call this quality?" The merchant might feign ignorance, blame you for misusing it. "You probably dropped it, good woman." Or if he valued his reputation or feared a public scene, he might grudgingly offer a replacement or a partial refund. There are records of legal disputes involving faulty goods, showing that there were avenues for seeking redress, though how effective they were for the average person is a matter of ongoing historical discussion. Textiles were another area ripe for disappointment. You might purchase a length of linen, prized for its coolness, only to find after the first washing that it's far coarser than it appeared, or that the vibrant dye, supposedly color-fast, has run and stained everything else. This royal purple looks more like faded bruise. You'd lament wringing out a blotchy tunic. The quality of weaving varied greatly, and an unscrupulous seller might try to pass off inferior material as high grade. Tools were crucial for craftsmen and farmers. Imagine a carpenter buying a new copper chisel, only to have the edge dull or chip after only a few uses on relatively soft wood. Or a farmer acquiring a new wooden plow that splinters during the first pass through the field. The complaint here isn't just about lost value, but lost productivity and the frustration of work made harder. This chisel is softer than a week-old fig, the carpenter might exclaim, examining the damaged tool with disgust. Even food items bought in the market weren't immune. Spices could be adulterated with less valuable powders. Dates might look plump and juicy on the outside, but be riddled with worms within. Wine or oil could be watered down. You'd discover these deceptions back home, often when it was too late to easily confront the seller, leading to a muttered curse and a mental note to avoid that particular merchant in the future. The concept of caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, was likely a very real principle in the ancient marketplace. Then, there were the more exotic goods brought by traders from Nubia, Punt, or the Levant. An amulet guaranteed to bring good fortune might bring nothing but a lighter purse. A rare bead might turn out to be common glass. The further the goods traveled, the harder it was to verify their authenticity or quality, and the easier it was for a canny trader to embellish their value. You'd feel a pang of disappointment when the magic didn't materialize or the rarity was revealed as a sham. The complaint wasn't always about outright fraud. Sometimes it was just a mismatch of expectations. A merchant might hype up a perfectly ordinary item with grand claims, and you'd buy into the rhetoric only to realize later it was just ordinary. That mirror of unparalleled clarity might still give a rather distorted reflection. A dearth of law and order, while ancient Egypt had a sophisticated legal system for its time, complete with courts, judges, often priests or local dignitaries, and written laws, though no single comprehensive law code like Hammurabi's has been found. Legal principles were well established. The average person's experience of justice could still be frustrating. When you were wronged, whether by theft, assault, or a broken contract, your complaint was a cry for order, a demand that mocked the principle of truth, balance, and justice be restored. Imagine you wake one morning to find your most valuable possession, perhaps a sturdy donkey essential for your work or a set of well-crafted copper tools, has vanished from your locked, or so you thought, shed. Your first reaction is disbelief, then a rising tide of anger and despair. My donkey. Someone has stolen my donkey, you'd wail, the complaint echoing through the early morning quiet of your village. This wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a direct blow to your livelihood. Your next step would be to report the theft. You might go to the village elder, a local official, or perhaps even the temple authorities, as they often played a role in local governance. You'd recount the details, perhaps with a few choice words about the likely parentage of the thief. The official would listen, make some notes, or have a scribe do so, and promise to look into it. But the wheels of justice could turn slowly. There was no dedicated police force in the modern sense for much of Egyptian history, especially in smaller villages. Law enforcement often fell to local watchmen, midjay, an ethnic group often employed as police or soldiers. or sometimes just the community itself. The complaint here is the gnawing anxiety of waiting. Will they catch the thief? Will your donkey be returned? Or will it simply disappear into the vastness of Egypt? Perhaps sold in a distant market. You might conduct your own inquiries, asking neighbors if they saw anything suspicious. A shadow in the night, an unfamiliar face. Did anyone see a shifty-looking fellow leading a donkey with a slightly crooked ear? You'd ask, hoping for a lead. If a suspect was identified, the process could become even more fraught. Evidence might be circumstantial. Witnesses might be reluctant to testify for fear of retribution. The ancient Egyptian legal system did employ oaths, often sworn in the name of a god or the pharaoh to encourage truthfulness. But false accusations or coerced testimonies were not unheard of. Imagine being accused of a crime you didn't commit. Your complaint then becomes a desperate plea for your innocence, a fight to clear your name against a system that, while striving for justice, was still operated by fallible humans. What if you were the victim of a minor assault? Perhaps a brawl in the marketplace that left you with a black eye and a bruised ego? You could lodge a complaint and the perpetrator might be brought before a local council or kenbet. Punishments could range from fines, often paid in goods, to beatings, depending on the severity of the offense and the social standing of those involved. But the process could be lengthy, and the satisfaction of seeing justice done might be diluted by the time and effort it took. Scholars still debate the consistency and fairness of legal applications across different social strata and regions. Contractual disputes were another common source of legal complaints. You agreed to deliver 10 jars of wine to a merchant by a certain date in exchange for a set amount of grain. You delivered the wine, but the merchant now claims it was of poor quality or that you were late, and refuses to pay the full amount. Your complaint is one of broken trust and financial loss. You'd have to gather any evidence, perhaps a papyrus agreement if it was a larger transaction, or witnesses to the verbal agreement, and present your case. The process of arguing, presenting evidence, and awaiting a judgment could be stressful and time-consuming. The complaint about a lack of law and order wasn't always about specific crimes. Sometimes it was a more general feeling of insecurity. If there was a spate of thefts in your area, or if local bullies seemed to act with impunity, there would be a collective grumble, a desire for the authorities to be more effective, to restore a sense of safety and predictability. When will the governor send more guards to this troubled district? People might ask. Even when the system worked, it could feel impersonal. Your deeply personal loss or injury translated into formal statements, legal arguments, and pronouncements by officials who might seem distant from your immediate suffering. The complaint, then, is also about the gap between the ideal of Mayat and the sometimes messy, slow, and imperfect reality of achieving it in daily life. You just hoped that in the end, some semblance of order would prevail and your stolen donkey would, by some miracle, find its way home. Why haven't the gods answered? In a world where the divine was intricately woven into the fabric of daily existence, your relationship with the gods was personal and transactional. You made offerings, you recited prayers, you observed festivals, all with the expectation that the gods in their wisdom and power would provide protection, prosperity, and guidance. But what happened when the rains didn't come, the sickness didn't abate, or your heartfelt pleas seemed to echo into an empty sky? Your complaint then was a profound, sometimes fearful questioning of the cosmic order. Imagine you're a farmer. You've tilled your land, sown your seeds, and diligently made offerings to Hapi, the god of the Nile inundation, and Renenutet, goddess of the harvest. Yet the annual flood is meager. Your fields remain parched and the young shoots wither under the relentless sun. Your complaint isn't just about a bad harvest. It's a cry of Hapi, have you forgotten us? Renenutet, why do you withhold your bounty? This wasn't necessarily a loss of faith, but a deep anxiety and a questioning of what had gone wrong in the sacred compact. Had you not been devout enough? Was there some hidden transgression that angered the gods? Or perhaps a loved one is gravely ill. You've made offerings at the local shrine of Sekhmet, the powerful goddess of healing, or perhaps Imhotep, the deified architect and physician. You've consulted healers who have administered potions and recited incantations. Yet the fever rages on. Your complaint is a desperate whisper in the temple's quiet. Great Sekhmet, I have given you my best beer, my finest linen. Why do you not hear my prayers? Why does my child still suffer? The pain of unanswered prayer, especially when a life hung in the balance, would be immense. Sometimes the complaint was less about a specific crisis and more about a general sense of things not being right. Perhaps there was social unrest or a period of political instability. People might look to the state temples, to the pharaoh, himself a divine intermediary, and wonder why Ma'at felt so fragile. The gods are distant, they might murmur. The sacred order is disturbed. These weren't accusations of divine malice, but expressions of unease and a yearning for reassurance that the gods were still watching over Egypt. Historians note that during periods of turmoil like the First Intermediate Period, texts emerge that reflect a sense of pessimism and questioning of traditional religious certainties, though the fundamental belief system remained remarkably resilient. Even on a more personal level, small disappointments could lead to divine grumbling. You might have prayed for success in a business venture, only for it to fail. You might have asked for a sign from a particular deity regarding an important decision, and received only silence. I left an offering of sweet cakes for Thoth, god of wisdom, and still I don't know which path to choose. This kind of complaint is relatable. The frustration of seeking guidance and feeling adrift. The interpretation of omens and oracles was also a source of potential complaint. You might consult an oracle, perhaps a priest interpreting the movements of a sacred animal or drawing lots, and receive an ambiguous or unfavorable answer. The oracle says patience, but patience won't feed my family. You might complain, or worse, the oracle might predict misfortune, leading to a complaint against fate itself or a desperate attempt to appease whichever deity was thought to be displeased. The precise methods of oracular consultation and their influence on everyday decisions are still areas of active research, pieced together from temple inscriptions and personal votive stelae. It's important to understand that these complaints weren't usually acts of heresy. Egyptian religion was complex and allowed for a degree of questioning and even bargaining with the gods. The negative confession from the Book of the Dead, where the deceased declares their innocence of various sins, can be seen as a form of assertive dialogue with the divine judges. The complaint was often a way of re-engaging with the gods, of saying, "I am still here. I am still devout. But I need your help, and I don't understand why it's not forthcoming." So, when the divine connection felt weak or unresponsive, the ancient Egyptian wouldn't just shrug. They would lament, they would question, they would perhaps redouble their offerings or seek different intercessors. Their complaints were a testament to the depth of their belief and their profound reliance on the gods to maintain order and provide solace in a world full of uncertainties. The silence of the gods was, in its own way, one of the loudest and most troubling complaints of all. The blazing sun and swirling sands while the Nile brought life. The broader Egyptian environment presented its own set of relentless challenges, chief among them the overwhelming heat and the ever-present threat of sand and dust. These weren't isolated incidents, but daily realities that people endured, and often complained about with a weary resignation. Your grumbles about the weather weren't just small talk. They were acknowledgments of a powerful force that shaped every aspect of life. Imagine it's midday in the height of summer. The sun, personified as the mighty god Ra, beats down with an intensity that feels almost personal. There is little shade to be found in the open fields or on the bustling construction sites. The air is still, hot, and heavy. Your complaint is a bead of sweat trickling into your eye. The searing heat radiating from the sand through the thin soles of your reed sandals. The parched feeling in your throat. By Ra's fiery breath, will this day ever cool? You might gasp, seeking even a sliver of shadow against a mud brick wall. Work in such conditions was exhausting. Farmers tending their fields, laborers hauling goods, even scribes trying to concentrate in stuffy sun-baked offices. Everyone felt the oppressive weight of the heat. Productivity would inevitably slow. Tempers might fray more easily. The simple act of moving felt like wading through thick, hot soup. The ancient Egyptians were, of course, adapted to their climate, with light linen clothing and architectural designs that maximized shade and airflow. But adaptation doesn't negate discomfort. The complaint is in the constant fanning with a piece of papyrus, the frequent sips of lukewarm water, the longing for the relative coolness of evening. Then there was the Khamsin, the infamous desert wind that could sweep in, usually in the spring or early summer, bringing with it choking clouds of sand and dust. One moment the sky is clear, the next the horizon turns a hazy yellow-brown, and a hot, gritty wind begins to blow. Your complaint is immediate and practical. The Khamsin. Cover the water jars. Secure the shutters. You'd hurry to protect food, water, and your own lungs from the invasive sand. Visibility would drop, making travel difficult and dangerous. The fine dust would penetrate everything, coating every surface, getting into your eyes, nose, and mouth, making breathing an effort. During a sandstorm, outdoor work would cease. Life would retreat indoors, but even there, the dust would find its way through every crack and crevice. The air would become thick and oppressive. You'd feel gritty and irritable. This accursed wind, it feels like the desert itself is trying to swallow us whole. You might grumble, wiping a film of dust from your lips for the 100th time. The psychological impact of being enveloped in a swirling vortex of sand, even for a day or two, would be significant. There's a sense of being besieged by the elements. Historians believe that the design of Egyptian houses with their small, high windows was partly a defense against these sandstorms. Even on a normal day, the dust was a constant low-level irritant, as we've noted. But when the wind picked up, even without a full-blown campsin, it would whip loose sand and debris around, stinging your eyes and making any outdoor task unpleasant. Always this wind, always this dust would be a familiar refrain. The complaint wasn't just about physical discomfort. Extreme heat could spoil food more quickly. Sandstorms could damage crops or disrupt trade routes. The weather was an unpredictable variable that could have serious economic consequences. A farmer watching a sandstorm flatten his young barley shoots would feel a despair that went beyond mere annoyance. And what about when it didn't get hot enough, or if the patterns were unusual? While less common, unseasonal coolness or unexpected rain, a rare event in most of Egypt, especially Upper Egypt, could also be a cause for complaint or at least uneasy discussion, as it might be seen as a disruption of the natural order. Ma'at. Rain in the dry season? What does this portend? People might wonder, their complaint tinged with apprehension. The predictability of the climate, particularly the sun and the Nile cycle, was foundational to their worldview, and deviations were noteworthy. So, the daily complaints about the blazing sun, the suffocating heat, the swirling sands, and the gritty dust were more than just idle grumbling. They were a testament to the constant negotiation between human endeavor and a powerful, often harsh natural environment. They were the soundtrack to a life lived under the unwavering gaze of Ra, a life where the elements were not just a backdrop, but an active participant in every story. The long wait for the afterlife's preparations for the ancient Egyptians, life on Earth was but a prelude, a preparation for an eternal existence in the afterlife, the field of reeds. This deeply ingrained belief meant that a significant amount of time, effort, and resources were dedicated to ensuring a smooth transition and a comfortable eternity. However, the process of preparing one's tomb and funerary goods, while crucial, could also be a source of protracted anxiety and complaint, especially if things weren't going according to plan. Imagine you are of modest means, but still determined to have a proper burial. You've contracted with a local artisan to carve a simple stela for your small tomb, perhaps a niche cut into the desert cliffs. You've been saving up to purchase a set of Shabti figures, small figurines meant to perform labor for you in the afterlife. But the artisan is slow. Weeks turn into months, and your stela is still just a rough block of limestone. By the time Nebnefer finishes my stela, I'll be an ancestor twice over. You might complain to your spouse, a mix of frustration and a very real fear of dying unprepared. The ideal was to have your tomb ready well before your demise. For the wealthy and powerful, this could be a decades-long project, like the pharaoh's elaborate tombs in the Valley of the Kings. But even for ordinary folk, there was a desire to have things in order. If you fell ill and your preparations were incomplete, the anxiety would intensify. The coffin is not yet painted. The offering list is incomplete. What will become of my ka? This wasn't just about worldly possessions. It was about your very essence, your life force, Ka, and your spiritual double, Ba, having a proper home and sustenance in the next world. The cost of funerary goods and services could also be a major source of complaint. Mummification, even a relatively simple version, required natron, linen bandages, oils, and resins, not to mention the services of the embalmers. A good quality coffin, perhaps with some painted hieroglyphs or depictions of protective deities, was a significant expense. The price of linen has gone up again. How is an honest man supposed to afford a decent burial? You might grumble, counting out your meager savings. There was a constant tension between the religious imperative for proper burial and the economic realities of life. Scholars analyzing tomb contents see a wide variation in the quality and quantity of grave goods, reflecting these economic constraints. But the underlying desire for a well-equipped afterlife seems universal. Sometimes, the complaints might be about the quality of the work. Perhaps the hired mourners you arranged for your future funeral procession seemed a bit lackluster in their practice wails. Or the Shabti figures you commissioned looked more like lumpy clay blobs than diligent servants. These Shabtis look like they dropped the plow on the first day in the field of reeds, you might exclaim, examining a particularly poorly formed figurine. You were investing in your eternity, and you wanted good value. The bureaucracy of death was also a factor. Securing a tomb plot, registering it, ensuring all the proper rituals were planned. These things could involve dealing with temple officials or local administrators. If there were delays or disputes, it added another layer of stress to an already fraught process. They say my tomb plot encroaches on old senates, but her family hasn't used that land in generations. This kind of dispute over sacred ground could be particularly bitter. And then there was the fear of tomb robbers. Even as you were meticulously planning your eternal abode, you knew that others might be eyeing it for its material wealth. The complaint here was a fearful one, often unspoken but evident in the elaborate and often futile attempts to conceal tomb entrances or create decoy chambers. Will all this effort be in vain? Will my offerings be plundered before my ba has even settled? The prevalence of tomb robbery throughout Egyptian history, despite severe penalties, shows how persistent this threat was, and how it must have weighed on people's minds as they prepared for the afterlife. The long wait wasn't just for the completion of physical preparations. It was also a spiritual and psychological waiting period. As you aged, as you saw others pass into the West, your own mortality would become more tangible. The complaints might become more philosophical, more a lament about the fleeting nature of life and the uncertainties of what lay beyond, despite the detailed religious doctrines. The sun sets, the sun rises, but a man's days are numbered. Will I be judged worthy? So while the afterlife promised eternity, the journey to get there was paved with very earthly concerns, anxieties, and complaints. Each delayed coffin, each costly roll of linen, each worry about the skill of an artisan, was a reminder that even the preparations for a perfect afterlife were subject to the imperfect, frustrating realities of mortal existence. Lost tools and wandering donkeys in a society reliant on agriculture and skilled crafts. Your tools weren't just objects. They were extensions of your ability to work, to provide, to create. And your donkey, if you were fortunate enough to own one, was your pickup truck, your tractor, and your primary mode of heavy transport all rolled into one. So, when a crucial tool went missing or your trusty donkey decided to take an unscheduled vacation, The resulting complaint was one of pure, unadulterated frustration and often significant economic anxiety. Imagine you're a carpenter, and you reach for your favorite copper adze, the one with the perfectly balanced handle that fits your grip just so, only to find an empty space on your workbench. Panic. You search frantically, patting down sawdust piles, peering into dark corners. My adze! Has anyone seen my good adze? I just had it. The complaint escalates from a worried murmur to a near shout. Without it, your work grinds to a halt or at least becomes significantly harder and slower. Delays mean lost income, unhappy clients. Or perhaps you're a farmer heading out at dawn to plow your field, and the wooden yoke for your oxen is nowhere to be found. You distinctly remember leaving it by the shed. The yoke. It's gone. Did the children take it for one of their ridiculous games again? The accusation might be unfair, born of desperation. You backtrack your steps, enlist your family in the search. The precious, cool morning hours ticking away. Every minute lost is a minute less for preparing the soil. These weren't high-value items in the grand scheme of royal treasures, but to the individual, they were invaluable. Replacing a good tool took time and resources. You might have to barter precious grain or a portion of your craft to a metalsmith or woodworker for a replacement, and a new tool never felt quite the same as the old familiar one. The complaint is about the inconvenience, the cost, and the disruption to the rhythm of your work. There are even ostraca, pottery shards used for notes, found at Deir el-Medina that record workers complaining about or requesting replacement tools, indicating this was a common enough occurrence to warrant documentation. And then, the donkeys. Oh, the donkeys. Hardy, generally reliable, but also possessed of an independent streak and an uncanny ability to wander off at the most inopportune moments. You've loaded your donkey with pottery to take to market. You turn your back for a moment to secure your own bundle, and when you turn back, the donkey is ambling nonchalantly down the path in the opposite direction, or perhaps has decided to investigate a particularly enticing patch of weeds just out of reach. Pesky beast. Come back here, you stubborn son of a desert thistle. Your shouts are a mix of anger and pleading. A lost or strayed donkey was a serious problem. It wasn't just the inconvenience of having to chase it down. It was the risk of it being stolen, injured, or simply wandering too far to be easily retrieved. Donkeys were valuable assets. They carried water from the Nile, grain from the fields, goods to and from market. Without your donkey, your ability to transport anything heavier than you could carry yourself was severely hampered. The complaint upon discovering your donkey has absconded is often loud and involves much gesticulating. Has anyone seen a gray donkey with a tattered ear? Answers sometimes to the name Swift Hoof. You'd call out to your neighbors hoping someone had spotted the errant creature. The level of detail in some ancient Egyptian texts describing lost animals, including specific markings, suggests how vital these individual animals were to their owners. Sometimes, the loss wasn't due to carelessness but to minor theft or borrowing without permission. Your neighbor might have temporarily appropriated your shovel, intending to return it but forgetting. The complaint then becomes a slightly awkward confrontation. Ah, I see my shovel has found its way to your field, Pateshmos. I was wondering where it had gone. The subtext is clear. The frustration of a misplaced item is universal. but in a context where replacements were not easily or cheaply obtained, and where these items were directly tied to your ability to survive and thrive. The complaint carried a heavier weight. It wasn't just, where did I put my keys? It was, where is the tool that feeds my family? Or where is the animal that carries our water? Each search, each anxious call, each muttered curse at a missing adze or a wandering donkey was a small drama of everyday economic survival in ancient Egypt. The heavy burden of tradition. Ancient Egyptian society was steeped in tradition, a complex tapestry of religious rites, social customs, and ancestral obligations that governed nearly every aspect of life, from birth to death and beyond. While these traditions provided structure, identity, and a connection to the divine, they could also feel like a heavy burden, a set of unyielding expectations that sometimes chafed against individual desires or practical realities. The complaints here were often more nuanced, a sigh of resignation rather than an outright protest, a feeling of being constrained by the unwritten and written rules of how things are done. Imagine it's time for a major religious festival, one dedicated to a prominent local deity. This isn't just a day off. It involves specific rituals, offerings, and often significant expense. You're expected to contribute a certain amount of food or drink for the communal feast, perhaps provide new linen for the temple statues, or participate in lengthy processions under the hot sun. While you believe in the importance of honoring the gods, the practicalities can be overwhelming, especially if your harvest was poor, or you're already struggling to make ends meet. Another festival, another demand on our meager stores, you might whisper to your spouse, carefully measuring out the grain for the offering, your heart heavy with the knowledge that it means less for your own family. The complaint isn't against the gods, but against the weight of expected piety when resources are scarce. Funerary customs, as we've touched upon, were particularly demanding. The obligation to provide a proper burial for family members, including the lengthy mummification process, if affordable, the procurement of grave goods, and the hiring of mourners, could place enormous strain on a household. If a distant relative you barely knew passed away, you might still be expected to contribute to their funerary expenses or participate in mourning rituals that took you away from your own essential work. Old cousin Nebbet has gone to the west, and now we must find silver for her embalmer, though she never shared a kind word or a crust of bread with us in life. This kind of complaint, muttered in private, would reflect the conflict between societal expectation and personal feeling or financial capacity. Social hierarchies and prescribed roles also carried the weight of tradition. If you were born into a certain class or profession, it was often very difficult to deviate from that path, regardless of your personal talents or ambitions. A farmer's son was generally expected to become a farmer. A craftsman's daughter would likely marry another craftsman or assist in the family trade. While there was some social mobility, it wasn't the norm. The complaint here might be an unvoiced yearning, a quiet frustration with the predetermined nature of one's lot in life. Must I truly spend my entire life hauling clay just because my father did? This isn't a formal complaint to an authority, but an internal sigh against the unyielding structures of society. Historians debate the rigidity of these social structures, but the wisdom literature often advises contentment with one's station suggesting that discontent was a known, if discouraged, sentiment. Even daily etiquette and rules of purity could feel burdensome. Certain foods might be taboo at certain times or for certain individuals. Specific actions might be required before entering a temple or handling sacred objects. Failure to observe these rules could lead to social ostracism or divine displeasure, or so it was believed. While these practices reinforced cultural identity, the constant vigilance required could be tiring. I forgot to purify myself before handling the offering bread. Now the whole batch might be tainted. The complaint is one of self-reproach, but also a flicker of annoyance at the intricacy of the rules.